Hi everyone, this is Emmanuel from Parsimony. I use R for all of my data analysis projects for my clients, and the thing that makes it such a useful tool for me is the variety of packages that are available for it. In this video, I'll go over why R packages are useful, and I'll give you 3 tips on how to avoid getting frustrated when using R packages. So first, what are packages? To answer this question, let's look at a popular program for statistical analysis called SPSS. So you can see on their website here that the base version of it comes with a few different packages or features. And then in order to get more features or packages, you have to pay more to get these extra capabilities. One of those is regression. So if you get this add-on here, you'll be able to do various types of regression. That's essentially what packages are in R. They are combinations of functions that perform specific tasks. One really popular package in R is called dplyr, and I use it all the time. It has a lot of functions that allow you to manipulate data very efficiently and quickly. Here are a few of those functions. I'll give you an example of what some of them do, but there are others. There's the filter function that allows you to select a subset of rows based on certain conditions that you specify. It has a function called mutate that allows you to create new columns or new variables. It allows you to modify existing variables, that sort of thing. It has a function called select that allows you to keep a subset of your columns, and then a function called summarize that allows you to do things like aggregate variables by certain groups, that sort of thing. Like all packages in R, it has documentation that describes how to use those functions. And many packages also come with example data so that you can practice using those functions and go through the examples provided in the documentation. The RCRAN website is a great place to look for available packages. You can click on this packages link down here and look at the list by name. And this, of course, has way too many packages. As of the date of this video, it's over 18,000. So there's too many packages to read through one by one, but you can Control F and type in something that you're looking for. So let's say you're looking for a package for missing data. And so I would type that in here, which is already in here in my search, then hit enter, and you can see that there's over 41 times where that appears. So I'm going to click on one of these just to give you an idea of what you can find on the other end of this. So this package is called Amelia, which is a program for missing data. You can see that it's on version 1.8.0 as of the date of this video. One of the real important things to pay attention to is this reference manual link. Everybody that creates a package for R has to create a reference manual, which provides instructions for how to use all of the different functions that are part of that package. So this is a starting point for once you identify the package that you want or you think you might want, you open up the reference manual and look to see what are all the functions and what do they do. So once you know the name of the package you need, you have to install it on your computer. And you use this function called install.packages, then you put the name of the package inside the parentheses there using double quotes. And what that does is it will take the package from the website, from the CRAN repository, and it will physically put it on your computer in this folder called the library. Now, once you have it on your machine, you are able to use it when you start up R the next time or during the session, the same session where you installed it. But you don't need to keep installing the package because you've put it in this library and that library stays intact. So you start up R and then you want to use the package that you just installed. You type in library function and then you put in the name of the package that you want to use. And that brings it up so that you're able to use the different functions within the R session that you're working on. That brings me to my first tip. Whenever you want to use a function in your code, always write it out as the package name, then colon, and then the name of the function. And I'll show you what I mean. So here's an example where I'm dealing with some hypothetical client data. I read in the CSV. If you don't know how to do that, you can watch this video that I produced before about that topic. Then I load this dplyr library, which I've already installed on the computer before. And now you'll notice right here, it gives you a warning. It says the following objects are masked from package stats, filter lag. and it says that warning when it's attaching the package dplyr. Here's what that means. So there are a lot of people out there in the world who are writing different packages and different functions for those packages. And so dplyr is just one of those packages, and there's another package called stats, and the people who wrote those packages happen to use the same name for one of their functions, filter. What R is doing here is it's just warning you, saying, okay, hey, there's two packages here that have the exact same name for one of their functions. And that's a problem, because if you want to use the filter function from dplyr and you're expecting it to filter certain rows for you, but then R doesn't know that, and so it's just picking the stats packages filter function, it's not going to do what you want it to do. So that's why you want to be very explicit and actually type up the name of the package, ::filter, which is telling R, I want to use the filter function from the dplyr package. And then you can do everything else. You can run that code and it'll produce the desired behavior. The second tip is somewhat related to the first tip. Get rid of packages you are not using in your code. Here's what I mean by that. Now let's say you spent a lot of time writing a whole bunch of code. It was much longer than this, but you started out by loading a whole bunch of different packages you thought you were going to need, and maybe at some point you were using some of those functions, but you decided you didn't need to. Don't just leave this code here for all of these packages that are loading all of these packages, because again, related to the first issue, the more packages you load, the more chance there is for some of the names for functions in some of those packages conflicting with the names of the functions in other packages, and so that can just create headache. So if you're going through and following the first tip and always writing out the name of the package, : the name of the function, then you should, as you keep writing more and more code, you should be able to read through all of the different packages that you're using, because it's part of the name here, that you associate with the function. And if there's a package that you have listed here that doesn't appear anywhere, then go ahead and delete that. It's a good habit because it'll help you clean up your code, and then you have less problems further down the line. So here's the third and final tip. Save your session info. And to give you an insight into what that means, I'll illustrate the problem that it's trying to solve. So I have lots of clients that I've worked with on multiple occasions. Sometimes I've worked with them in the past and I wrote code for a data analysis project they gave me, and then they come to me several years later or a few months later and say, hey, I have new data, would you please do the same thing you did before? And so I want to leverage the code that I wrote the first time. But if a lot of time has passed, the packages that I used when I wrote the code the first time could have been updated, and chances are, some of those functions could have changed, the names could have changed for those functions, how they work, that could have been altered. And if I try to use the same code with the new package versions that I most likely have on my computer the second time the client comes to me, it's probably not going to work and the code will break. And so saving your session info, what that does is it will give you a snapshot or a recording of all of the different settings and package versions that you were using that original time, so that you can resort back to those versions so your old code will run again flawlessly. And here's how you save your session info. It's very straightforward. So let's say you've written all of your code the first time and it works flawlessly. So you go into your console here and then you just type in session info, and RStudio will fill out the rest here, and you can just hit tab and it's an empty parentheses there. And so you can just hit enter. And then it'll print out a lot of information. So it tells me the R version that I'm using right now, at the same time that this code was running successfully, the platform it's on, 64-bit. And then it goes on to talk about all the different packages that are loaded and then the versions of those packages. And so you'll notice that these other attached packages correspond to the packages that I've attached here, and it gives me the version numbers. Glue version 1.4.2, dplyr version 1.0.7. So you can just simply copy all of this information and then, drop it in like a notepad or something, and then paste it, and then just save that somewhere in your project folder for your client, so that when you go back to it, you can read this and see what versions you were running. And there are functions that allow you to load or install older versions of packages so that everything works perfectly. If this video was helpful and you want to learn more tips for how to use R for your solo consulting business, please subscribe. Thanks.